Okay.
I think he's figuring out some technical difficulties, but he's here, and it says we are now streaming live on YouTube.
Okay, Barney, you set, Barney?
I am here, yes.
Brian,
Whenever
are you
you're
here?
ready.
Brian, are you here? Bueller?
He's got his name is there.
Bueller?
Didn't he say he needed a couple minutes to get his stuff kind
Yeah,
of
Well, he texted
running?
me.
he did. That was 2 minutes ago.
That was you texting, Brian. All right, we're going to go. Well, Brian will join us along the way. Okay, everyone ready? Okay, well, I want to call to order the Finance Committee meeting from the Park District of Highland Park for Thursday, February 4th, 2021 at 4:04 p.m. Roxanne, can you please call the roll?
Commissioner Bernstein,
Here.
Vice President Kaplan.
Here.
Oh, good. And President Ruttenberg.
I am here, yes.
So yes, we have a quorum. Executive Director Romes, has anyone from the public submitted any emails to be read aloud for public comment?
No.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the Finance Committee meeting minutes from December 17th, 2020 and January 21, 2021. I hope everyone had an opportunity to look at them. I looked at them. I didn't have any issues. So if no one else has any issues, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
A motion by President Ruttenberg, a second by Vice President Kaplan. Roxanne, can you please, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it, the motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the Park Avenue updates and Director Smith to present.
All right, thank you very much. So I'm gonna start with a brief update on the Park Avenue Gate project, where we're installing a gate to control access to the boat launch area.
Jeff, before, is anybody else having trouble hearing Jeff?
He's muffled by the beard.
Yeah. Jeff, can you try again?
I will talk louder. How's that?
Okay, that's good. It's still kind of like there's a little echo, but that sounds better.
Oh, yeah, sorry about that.
Okay, no worries.
So the Park Avenue Gate project, staff recently met with city staff to discuss the plan, review our plan for the general location, how we're looking to kind of administer all this and maintain this gate. We're currently in the process of finalizing the exact location for the gate. Part of that is looking at the required width in the area. We're actually working with Gaybold Hamilton right now to conduct a turning radius analysis to determine if the gate can go in any portion of that area that may narrow the road, which gives us a little more options on placing the gate. So we're conducting that right now. We should have results from that early next week. And once we have that, we will continue to look into our options for the gate location. And once we finalize that, we plan to come to the Finance Committee, probably the next meeting, with a proposal for the purchase of the gate.
Okay, is that it on the, that's the first item was, that's actually B, the access gate control update. The first item was the site master plan proposal.
Oh, sorry, I didn't have the agenda in front of me.
Okay, it's all right.
But I think that one's me.
Okay, listen.
So can everyone hear me?
I'm dyslexic anyways. I probably got them backwards, so it's.
No.
No, you got it right. So what Jeff was just giving a quick update on the gate. Originally, I think we hoped to have a little bit more on the proposal, but that'll be at the next meeting now. So we're going to turn over, unless there's any questions about the gate, we'd like to have Amalia present on the site master plan proposal.
All right, so before Amalia takes over on the site master plan, anybody have any questions, comments about the access gate?
Nope.
Hearing none. Okay, so next is the site master plan proposal. Manager Schwartz is to present.
Right, so we are getting started on the Park Avenue boating facility site planning effort, which is budgeted for in our 2021 budget. I'm going to just give a brief overview of the project and the location, and then I will talk a little bit about our timeline, and then I'll share our next steps, or our planning approach, and then our next steps. So here is just for context, and I can refer back to this if there are any additional questions, but this planning effort is looking at the Park Avenue boating facility site. So just to orient you, this is north, south. Here's the North Shore Yacht Club, the water treatment plant, and the north area, the North Beach. So the scope of the project is looking to build on existing planning efforts and assess in collaboration with our key stakeholders. We'll be looking at the following items: access, boating, storage and amenities, other passive and or active recreational opportunities, and infrastructure repair, replacement, and improvements. Are there any questions about the scope before I move on to timeline?
President Ruttenberg?
I was muted, no. I'm
Okay,
good.
Vice President Kaplan?
I have no questions yet.
Okay.
Okay.
let's go.
And, you know, I forgot that I have my next slide, which I think just builds onto this scope, which is when I mentioned that we are building on existing planning efforts and information. These documents are going to serve as the foundation for the site plan. So bringing together information we already have from the Lakefront Master Plan update, the 2018 Community Input Survey, the Beach Management Strategy Plan, Smith Group Barge Replacement Study, and the Capital Improvement Plan. So as for timeline, we're looking to begin working with Lakota in February, and I'll talk a little bit about why we are recommending to engage Lakota in just a moment. And then March through June is when the bulk of the planning effort will take place. We'll then look to come back to the park board for plan approval in July, and that will time us, kind of get us prepped in time for capital planning and budgeting starting in August. So the idea is to do this planning effort to inform our future capital planning. Any questions about the timeline?
Anyone?
No
Okay.
questions.
No questions.
All right, so we are proposing to work with Lakota Group. You may recall working with Lakota Group in the past. They've done our Greenprint master plan. So they are very familiar with our park district and our parks. They are also currently working with Winnetka on a lakefront master plan. I don't think it's called the lakefront master plan. I'm kind of blanking here on the term that they're using for their planning effort, but they're doing quite a big planning effort down with Winnetka at their lakefront. And so they are very knowledgeable on lakefront efforts and planning, and we think that their expertise is a good application here. So we are proposing to have a three-phased approach. We will start with this analyze and engage, and this should be kind of similar terminology to Greenprint. So starting off with a kickoff meeting, working with a project steering committee, and I'll share who that project steering committee is in a moment, but it is internal. It's Park District staff and board liaisons. We'll then do an existing data and plan review, and then Lakota will provide a site analysis exhibit and a summary of conditions report. And they'll review that with the Park Avenue Working Group. We'll then go into phase two.
Excuse me, hold on. The site analysis exhibit and summary of conditions with staff. I think before it goes to the Park Avenue Working Group, it should have an internal with the project steering committee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it should say that. I think when they, I should correct that. It's when it says staff, it's referring to the steering committee. So I'll correct that on this slide.
Okay, so Cal, your staff.
No. Yeah, so it's Terry and Brian.
Oh, it's Terry and Brian, you're right. I
Yeah.
forgot.
And just to note, and I'll talk about this in a minute, but they have reviewed this. But I'll let Amaya keep going.
Please.
All right, so phase 2 is the visioning step. And in this step, we'll use that site analysis exhibit to start developing conceptual site plans, the various options of how to approach the site. Lakota will do a comparative analysis to start evaluating which of those options is best. And there will be team working sessions with the steering committee to review those options. Lakota will then refine the plans based on the feedback that they get. And we'll come back with the refined plan to the Park Avenue Working Group. After that point, we'll then plan to present that refined plan to the Park District Park Board and Finance Committee. Or I'm sorry, or the Finance Committee. Any questions about this step?
Yeah, I think you should provide that it goes to a, when you say team review meeting, I think it should first be a staff and project steering committee or whatever that is, meaning Terry and Brian, before you have a meet and presentation to the Park Avenue Working Group.
Okay.
Vice President Kaplan, do you have any more comments?
Not yet.
Okay. I have none.
All right. And then the last phase is phase 3, which is is the final preliminary site plan. And so the comments gathered through the visioning phase will then be used to develop this final site plan, which will include the budget and any illustrations that we may want to use to communicate our plan. We'll then have a priority implementation plan and timeline. We'll review that with the steering committee. And then the final, any sort of refinements that are needed will be made at that point before we go and present the final plan to the Park District Board or the Finance Committee, whichever we're directed to do.
Any questions, comments? I have none. Okay.
If I could just make one comment, because I know Barney brought up some really good comments, and I know that Amalia, Jeff, myself, Terry Grossberg, and Brian Kaplan had a very good conversation about the proposed planning steps, and we took a very thoughtful approach to making sure that we had developed a steering committee that is made up of staff and board liaisons that would be used to steer the project, to make the key decisions along the way in working with Lakota, and that we would make also a very important and strong effort to work with the Park Avenue Working Group as a means of getting input along the way. Obviously, there are members of the boating community, including the North Shore Yacht Club and the city, who are on that Park Avenue Working Group. So I think they will be able to provide some very good feedback, since for one, the boaters are down there almost every day in the summer, as our staff, and the city obviously own the property. So that is the approach that we're taking with this proposed planning steps and with the Lakota group. And again, Scott Ferreras will be the main contact on this, and we're very familiar, obviously, with Scott and his work, and he's extremely good at what he does and also extremely knowledgeable in this specific area of planning as well. So we're excited about this opportunity. You can see the cost there, which is at $19,930. It is slightly above what we budgeted for 2021 in the capital plan. We budgeted $15,000. So we are slightly above that budget. We do believe, obviously it's not a lot. We have plenty of wiggle room in our capital plan, but wanted to note that it is above the budget, and we did work this number significantly down from his original proposal, which was in the mid-30s. I know that Brian and Terry recommended we move forward with this. And if Amalia, you want to go to the next slide, that kind of talks about next steps, and then we can entertain any questions. So really what we're looking for today, today is February 4th. We're at the Finance Committee. Like I said, Brian and Terry gave their consensus to move forward with the Finance Committee. We don't need board approval because it's under $25,000. We don't need the board to approve the contract. We're happy to give a board update if the Finance Committee would like us to, but really we're looking for consensus from the Finance Committee. If we do get that today, after we get your questions answered, we will explain what we're doing at the Park Avenue Working Group meeting, which is actually Tuesday, February 16th. So it's the week of February 15th. And then we will begin the kickoff meeting with our steering committee staff and board liaisons, which again is Amalia, Jeff, Mitch, Terry, Brian, which is me, and Brian Kaplan. So I'll leave it there, and I think either one of us can entertain questions.
Brian, since you're the liaison, do you have anything you want to add to that, Brian Kaplan?
No, I think he said it right.
Okay, then any questions or comments, President Ruttenberg?
No, I think we should move forward.
Vice President Kaplan, I guess you're in favor of moving forward?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's a hat trick, I agree. So thank you, Amalia.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Maya.
Sharing here.
Okay, is that it for the Park Avenue updates?
Yes.
Okay, so the next item on the agenda, does anybody else have any comments, staff or board members have any questions, or anything else you want to discuss regarding Park Avenue? Okay, hearing none, let's go on to the next item on the agenda, which is the Highland Park Golf Learning Center Site Master Plan Proposal. Manager Schwartz to present again.
All right. So we are very much in the planning mode. So this month we're also starting the Golf Learning Center site planning effort, which also is budgeted in our 2021 budget. So similar to the Park Avenue presentation, I'll give a brief overview of the scope, timeline, our planning approach, and then next steps. So just for context, we are talking about the Golf Learning Center. North is up, south, this is south. Here's the target, 41. And then here on your right is the Highland Park Country Club, or I'm sorry, the Preserve of Highland Park. Oops. The scope or the objectives of this project are to develop a long-term site optimization plan that aims to improve financial performance while meeting community and regional recreational needs. This optimization plan and the recommendations we hope to, or that we will get through this plan, will cover the driving range, mini golf area, the building, and just general site connectivity. We'll look at programming, operations, agreements, marketing strategies. We'll look at the relationship to the dome and the preserve. And we'll also look at possible new amenities or capital improvements that would support the programming that we're recommending there, or that is recommended. Any questions about the scope and objectives of this project? All right, hearing none, I'm going to keep going. Here's the timeline. I'll touch on the specific project areas or milestones in the next slide, but we're hoping to start here in February, and the plan is to wrap up by May.
That seems a little aggressive.
Yeah, we're trying to front load this. We know that our golf staff, they're going to start gearing up in the golf season. So we're trying to get moving on this project so that they can invest their time and dedicate some time to this.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments regarding the timetable? Okay, let's move on.
All right. So there are two main phases to this project. The first one is a data review and an optimization report. So during this phase, the planning team is going to look at what's going on at the site. They're going to look at current conditions. And then March is going to be heavy in the planning. So we're going to, and I'm sorry, I want to look at my notes so that I say this correctly. There are going to be collaborative meetings with staff and our steering committee and key stakeholders. And this is really where we're going to come together to identify the key factors that are going to drive facility and program participation. This is also where we're going to be meeting with the firm on site, so they'll get a sense of what the site is all about in person. And then lastly, in April, we'll be finalizing the detailed optimization report, and that's the deliverable from phase one. I want to give a little bit of detail on what that optimization report is going to include. So that'll include recommendations covering organizational development, business development, operational processes and systems, programming review, financial performance, and physical and facility improvements.
Could you put that in simple words without no buzzwords? What are we asking them to do?
And I'm gonna explain it then, Brian, if you want to chime in too. But the idea here is that this is an enterprise facility. We're trying to understand what is going to drive participation in the site and what's going to bring in users and increase revenue. And so to understand what's going to drive participation, and then understand what types of capital improvements or other types of improvements we would recommend to support those programming changes or improvements. Hopefully I didn't use any buzzwords. Brian, I don't know if you want to chime in there, if you have anything to add.
The only thing I'll add is very similar to Park Avenue. The points that are similar is that we have data from our attitude and interest survey, and then we have information in our capital plan, and we have feedback from staff on how we can optimize this site. And so what this company is going to come in and do is take all that data, do their market evaluation and competitive analysis. And I know I'm definitely using buzzwords, but they're going to tell us how we can, what they would recommend, how we address this site for the long run. So we've talked about this, should we, a variety of different options of things we should potentially consider at that location. This would be, in a sense, that the finality to that discussion as to what we recommend going forward. This will tie in nicely with the fact that we are doing updates this summer and fall to the preserve, and including, updating the sign, updating the parking lot, updating the pathways. There's been very good progress with discussions regarding the dome over the past week, and the future use of that as well. So this will tie together very nicely, I think, sort of a future plan for this site.
That's great. There's no buzzwords. Good.
Okay. Is there anything else in this presentation, or?
Well, so phase two is we'll have an optimization and financial recommendations deliverable. The way I'm going to summarize it is a timeline and implementation strategy. So putting all of the recommendations that they come in phase one, and how do we implement those? So like I said, there's two deliverables that I mentioned, and then the cost proposals coming in at $15,000, which is what we're budgeted.
Yeah, Barney, you are right. There's some big words there. I think I have my dictionary here to look them up so I can understand what they mean.
All right, so next steps, similar to Park Avenue, we're coming to the Finance Committee February 4th for consensus to move ahead with this contract. And if we receive that, we'll start moving towards contract award and then target to kick off this project with the project team on the week of February 15th.
I would like to suggest that one of the board members be part of your project team. That might be able to provide some, input from the commissioner side of what's going on.
I would volunteer for that.
Okay. Well, Barney, you assign. You're the president. You assign.
I just blessed Brian, yeah.
Okay, fine. Any questions
What
or
did I just agree
comments?
to do?
You just agreed to be part of the project team,
I
Mr.
know, I'm
Kaplan.
kidding. I'm sorry. Bad legal humor.
Okay. Any other questions or comments, President Ruttenberg?
No, I just, again, obviously, as this moves along, I'm sure we'll get periodic board, if not board, at least finance committee updates.
Absolutely.
Vice President Kaplan? Okay, so I have a couple questions. I know that we've talked about this, and I understand why we're focusing on this facility, that it's tired and needs improvement, and we had a very good year last year. That being said, is this an open-ended planning, or are we planning within a certain type of budget that we're envisioning, or some budget with regard to this property?
So the optimization report, big word, I know. What it's based on is developing a plan that has cost recovery that would obviously generate net revenue. So there is no budget that we have right now, but the approach is that this is obviously viewed as a facility that generates a quote unquote profit, because as you know, we pay 50% of the net proceeds to the city as a lease payment. And then this also helps us generate revenue to support other programs throughout the district. So the answer is no, we don't have a specific limit on what comes out of this, but there should be a certain realistic return on any investment that we would invest into the facility. And that's the point of doing this, so that.
Okay, so then I would suggest that with this referral, that there's a direction included in the referral that anything that they come back to the finance committee or the board, obviously there has to be a way to pay for it, whether it's paid for through the revenue from this source, or if we're going to be looking for access to our capital improvement fund in order to pay for this. Because what I don't want is, I don't want and I'm not saying you're going to do it, but I've said I don't want a situation where you come back to the finance committee in 3 or 4 months with the Taj Mahal there and it looks beautiful and it's wonderful, but there's no way to pay for it.
But it happened to us the first time.
So,
but can I just jump in? This could be also, and maybe it's through their services as well, that there is a third-party operator who could participate in this recasting of the facility because there's a profit motive there.
okay,
And
let's put that aside. That's obviously for
I am.
the staff. The staff will analyze that. But again, I think that I don't want to just write a blank check and saying, you come back with and we'll get like a 4, they'll come back with, I'm not saying they're going to do this, but I just want to make sure it's clear that they're not going to come back with a 4-level tiered driving range with a glass enclosed restaurant facility or something like that. You see in these souped up driving range on steroids. So I'm not saying the staff would do that. I just want to make sure that we put this out there, that obviously that not only are they doing the planning, but keep in mind while they do the planning, there has to be a way to figure out how to pay for it.
Yeah, and those are excellent points. And I will say we went through a pretty extensive interview with this company, and I brought up some of those exact points about making sure this is something that we can do, and also that it's based on some good data and good market analysis that it actually will have a high probability of generating a return on the investment. So those are-
And I feel very confident and very comfortable with staff and our board liaison, Vice President Kaplan, that they will look at that and with those lenses and with that direction. And I look forward to a wonderful result from this planning exercise.
very good, very good.
Okay, anybody else have any
A lot of
questions?
pressure you put on me.
What? Well,
A lot of pressure.
any other questions or comments?
No, I think this is a great idea. I'm glad we're doing it. And of course, subject to the financial ability and burden on the district. I think it's essential. It's a well-used facility, but it's very dated.
And yeah, as I said, it's tired. It needs the attention. I don't think there's been a lot of work done over there in many years. And obviously, you know, with golf being where it is right now in the marketplace, this is something that may be a very good investment for the Park District. So I'm excited that we're focusing on this facility, but I'm just excited that we're focusing on this facility.
Unless, Brian Kaplan, unless you have a question, I'd like to stay on this topic for a minute.
That's
And-
fine.
Okay, the question is integration with the dome. I know that you said you've had some fruitful conversations, and I have to assume that part of their mission will be including, will they be looking at access and the integration with the dome so that there's a unified facility structure there?
So
Before
I'm
we,
trying to think of-
wait, Brian Rose, before you answer that question, is this something that's more appropriate for closed because it involves the lease and possible acquisition of
well, I think Barney, you're asking just about access.
Yes.
okay, I thought you were talking about like
No,
coordinating
no.
the uses between the dome and what we're doing here.
I just
No,
want to make sure.
this will be complete. So I think Cal, you mentioned it was an aggressive timeline. Part of the reason that we do have an aggressive timeline, which is also a realistic timeline, is because we are working with, we're going to be working with an engineer as well as we re-asphalt and redo the parking lot this summer. And part of that is going to be per the request of UCal, actually, at the last meeting, working with IDOT to consider improvements to ingress, egress at that site, as well as civil engineering for the parking lot to both the driving range area and what's currently the dome area, in addition to what we're doing with the preserve and the Skokie River Woods and having connectivity through that whole thing. So the timing for this is all working together, and all of those will be communicating to make sure it does address that. I hope I answered your question, Barney.
You answered my question. Thank
Okay,
you.
that's fine. Anything else, Barney?
Not for me.
Brian? Kaplan? Okay, all right, so anything else? I guess that's it with regard to the Highland Park Golf Learning Center site master plan proposal. Anybody on staff have anything to add to that? Okay.
I'm going to
nothing from-
stop sharing then.
Okay, thank you, Amalia. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is the Sunset Valley Golf Club Youth Walkway Project update. Manager Ryan's gonna. Ryan, are you presenting?
I'm going to share my screen real quick.
What do you do during the winter, Ryan? Have you been hibernating?
Yeah.
He
We,
hibernates.
Hibernating for sure. We've been, we made some new tee markers in-house. So we'll be, once we open the golf course, we'll be putting those out. So those are pretty nice. And we're developing a new website. So we're going
Good. I
to,
have to go out and check it out.
yeah, it's not ready yet. It'll hopefully be ready next week. So we're getting that finished.
Fabulous.
Can you guys see this?
Yes.
Okay, so. All
Ryan, I
right,
hope you took some time off this winter.
yes,
Okay,
yes, I
good.
did take some time off.
And Cole took some time off?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yeah.
We allow that?
I mean, this is the time, those guys work 7 days a week during the season.
Carte blanche has been given, carte blanche. The problem is they can't go very many places.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So staff went out to bid for the brick paver pathway this December, and we received those bids back on January 8th. And there was actually 12 bids that we received, and the low bid was for $23,670. And what that entailed, what the base bid was for, was this pathway right here from the front of the cart barn to the back of the cart barn that leads to the short game area. It also includes some drainage improvements right along the cart barn here, as well as some parking stalls right here, right along all these stalls, right along the cart barn. We put some parking stalls in. We did ask for some alternates. Alternates on the bid was this pathway right here, brick paver pathway, and then some new curbing right along the pathway. It was existing curbing that we didn't address during the renovation of the parking lot, but we asked for a price to get new curbing put in place. We are going to move forward with accepting just the base bid for the $23,670 for this area right here. We are not going to move forward at this time with the new curbing along here or this additional pathway. When we stage carts for golf, we stage the golf cars right here in this section of pavement. And so when a golfer puts his clubs on the cart, he can just access the pathway right here. They won't have to go around and use this pathway right here. Some additional things that we will have to do.
Let's wait, before we go to additional things, before President Ruttenberg asked the question, that's pervious surface we're putting on, not additional impervious, correct?
Yes, correct.
And
All right, there goes my question.
okay, and then the next question that President Ruttenberg would ask, if I let him, would be that the electric car stations are still going to be located there, right? The
Correct.
charging stations will be
Yep.
located. Okay,
Yeah.
Barney, is there any questions that I didn't ask for you?
Yes, but I'm going to wait for Ryan to finish because I'm polite.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So a few other things that we're going to get quotes, we're in the process of getting quotes for right now, is this section right here. If you can see this picture right here, there's a little bit of a mound. I don't know if you can kind of tell from the picture. So we have to get in there and excavate that mound. And then also there is a optic cable vault right in there as well that we got to lower. And the reason we got to lower this mound is so the pathway is ADA accessible. So those will be separate quotes that we'll get, but staff anticipate that amount to be around $10,000 for that work. And then a few other things that we have to still do that we'll do closer to opening of the short game area is installing some synthetic turf, some hitting cages. We'll put a signage up over there that lets everyone know of all the donors and the history for the short game area. And then a net, we're gonna install like a safety net along number 1 on the west side of the honey locust trees. That is to the left of the fairway on 1. That way no golf balls go over to the short game area from the tee box. And just a reminder, this project is all from donations. No Park District dollars will fund this.
Questions, comments? President Ruttenberg?
Oh, thank you. Do we have any plans, I hope we do, to put in some greenery between the path and the building? Because otherwise it looks like a pretty harsh, it's a harsh area, it's a harsh look. Can we soften that with some greenery? Now, I don't mean grass, but some bushes, some trees, something?
Well, they're like right here in this picture.
Yes.
They're really, I'll have to see how much space we will have. The pathway will kind of take up most of that space.
Yeah, okay.
So, we might do some decorative rock in there just to kind of spruce it up a bit.
Well, I was thinking of the side of the building, to something with some vertical, soften
Sure.
the vertical.
Yeah,
the vertical
we could
side of it.
definitely look into putting some grasses there that will grow up to kind of hide the building.
Okay,
There's also in the shade looks, it's shade, it's sun in the mornings.
Yeah, it's shade in the afternoon.
Yeah.
that was my one question, Cal. You got my others.
Okay, Vice President Kaplan.
I'm good.
How wide is the pathway going to be?
I believe, I don't have the plans in front of me, but I believe it's either 6 or 8 feet. It's in between 6 and 8 feet,
And is that going to be for walking or for taking carts?
either or.
So carts are going to be able to fit down there.
Yeah, a cart will be able to fit on there,
So,
but you can either walk or ride.
so if is it going to be wide enough for 2-lane traffic?
No,
How's that going to operate?
it'll be, it's not that, the distance isn't that deep or that long. So it just kind of common sense if somebody's, driving, wait. I don't anticipate that many people going over there all at once. So, you could really tell if somebody's coming or not.
Okay.
Is there,
Go ahead, Vice President Kaplan.
now that I'm looking at this and thinking, if there's a one-way path, people will be taking the parking lot.
That will probably happen. We would advise them not to, but that could happen.
So what's the traffic flow? Just going to go back and forth on that path? You're not going to be able, we're going to discourage access to into the parking lot?
Correct.
And that was signage, or how are you going to deal with that?
Yeah, we'll use signage.
Okay. And I noticed there's that on that mound, looks like there's a tree there.
Yeah, we'll remove that in-house.
Is that tree's going to be removed?
Yes.
Is that a key tree or anything that we should be?
It's a honey locust. It's not, I think every tree in Highland Park is key, or except for an arborvitae or a willow.
So it's not protected in any way?
No, it's not like a heritage tree.
Okay, fine.
But afterwards, I assume you'll do some landscaping.
Yeah, we'll do some landscaping along the east side of the short game area that I talked to the foresters about. We're going to install some trees. It's kind of like a buffer from the road.
Okay, good.
Let me see. What about lighting? Is there going to be any lighting for the path?
The only lighting is from the parking lot lights. There will be no other lighting over there.
So like the paths that we have leading to the clubhouse, what are those called? What are they called, bollards or something? Those
Yes.
So did you think about maybe putting something similar to what's on those paths over here? Is there room for that?
There's really not enough room, and I don't anticipate too many people going over there when it's dark out. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of challenges with this access path with the amount of space that's available without taking away parking, which obviously we don't want to do. So those are things that we opted to not use as options just because of the constraints of the path.
Do we have, I don't want to make a bigger deal than it is, but did we have like an engineer look at this with regard to, I just don't want to see anybody get hurt on this path. That's what I'm concerned about. We have these really cool electric carts, and I'm concerned about just, how narrow it is and car traffic, there's two-way car traffic and also walkers, and maybe even with golf carts, with push carts, all sharing, which is a pretty narrow path.
Yeah, we didn't have any engineer look at this, but we know.
Staff engineer,
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah.
our landscape architect.
Landscape architect.
But not, yeah. And to kind of, I'll just, I think, and then Ryan, you can add in, but I believe there wasn't enough space based on standards of the width to do it so it was 2-lane by the standard of what requires for 2-lane. But I think part of the strategy, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, with putting the stones on the side is we know people may try, and there probably is space for 2 to get by. We don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
But again, we're very limited on what we can do. This is about all we've studied this as much as we can. And I know, Ryan, I think you had a conversation with Gaywalt, but they didn't do an engineering study.
No. Our biggest thing is we didn't want to lose parking stalls. And this is kind of the only way to manage access over there without doing that.
Did you think of making it just walking only and not carts like you did on the south side of the clubhouse? Walkway?
It's definitely something we can look at. I hate to say, a lot of people will probably just drive through the parking lot. Some people do right now, just drive up to their cars.
Yeah.
They might just drive over there. We absolutely don't want people doing that. We'd rather them take the path. But yeah, we can definitely look into just making it walking only.
Well, let me
Just,
jump.
people's only going to take a couple clubs over there anyway.
Yeah,
They're
let
not
me,
going to need their whole set of clubs.
let me jump in and follow up on this because there's some valid concerns. If you have kids who are going to the kid program, you'll want them to walk on this path.
Correct.
If we have kids walking on a path, there's no way we should have any golf carts on that path. And we should just make it no golf carts.
And we could just make it walking only. That'll make it
Yeah.
easy.
Make it walking only, and then that'll solve the couple problems we're having in conceptualizing this. For safety concerns, if we've got kids around, we don't want them walking through the parking areas. That's what the sidewalk is for. And then I would also suggest we could put some lights on the side on the building. A couple, scattered, a few 3 or 4 lights to downcast onto the sidewalk to give some illumination. And I'm sure that we could get some attractive lights that won't detract from the look and but will add a safety factor.
Ryan, that's a good point, Barney, because Ryan, you also bring another good point. This is a short game area. You're only going to be using a couple clubs over there at most.
Yeah.
Your wedges, and that's it. So there's no reason for people to take their whole bag over there and their cards. Obviously, there's extenuating circumstances with handicap and people who have mobility issues and things like that we'll have to account for. But there's a reason why you limited cart traffic on the south pathway, just south of the clubhouse. So you didn't want carts going down that pathway anymore. That's correct, right?
True.
And you wanted to divert all the traffic to the south. I mean, the cart traffic to where the staging areas for the picking up the carts, and also where the bag drop off is.
Correct.
So, I mean, I'm not advocating one way. I'm always overly cautious about these issues about safety. So, and I know the old saying of the Park District, safety doesn't sleep. So I just really want to make sure that we get this right. I don't want anybody in issues. And these electric carts are so cool that they're quick, and I just hate to have an issue there with
They're quiet.
and the cars.
And they're quiet.
And they're quiet. That's a good point. They're very quiet. So you're not going to
So
hear.
I think we could definitely make it walking only.
And then that also can address some of Barney's concerns with regard to green space, because we could put those you could have room for those planters and things like that to make it to beautify the walkway also. So it's not as stark as Barney was talking about. I mean, these are just ideas. I'm not advocating. I think that's something I just want you to look at.
Great feedback. It's good.
Yeah, it's great.
Okay, it's what's the old saying? You're trying to put like 10 pounds or 20 pounds in a 10-pound bag or something like that. Just trying to avoid that.
Great.
And any other questions, feedback?
And the only thing I would say is talk it over with the staff there, Cole and Rob, and see, see what they think.
Okay.
Anything else, Barney, Brian?
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, is that it? By the way, Brian, I can't say it enough. You did an outstanding job there last year. You and your entire staff and the clubhouse staff, Cole and his staff, it was outstanding. And I can't say it enough. And this gives me another opportunity to say it. So really appreciate all your hard work.
Thanks.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is other business, Director Peters to present.
Mary Lynn, you still with us?
She's still,
For her?
she's still on mute.
Sure. Our next meeting will be on
No, there she is.
Thursday.
There she is.
I'm sorry.
Hey, Director Gomes, you don't have that authority. Only she can talk about this.
No, he's more than welcome. He knows our other businesses. Just to remind you that we have a finance committee meeting scheduled for February 18th at 4 p.m. And we just want to make sure everyone can attend that.
I'm available. Brian, Barney?
My only thing that I'd add is we scheduled them for 4 o'clock, among other reasons, to accommodate Terry.
Yes.
And, if for whatever reason that we know that Terry, we might want to change the time to make it earlier so the staff doesn't have to stay so late if Terry's not going to be available.
Yeah, but if I have depositions, they usually end by 4.
All right, then we'll keep it where it is.
Yeah, I
If they start running really late past 5:30, then I will try to keep it open.
I have a hearing that night, so I like it at 4 because then I have to get ready for I work at night sometimes.
Okay. All right. So then we will keep it at 4 p.m. on February 18th.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you. And
Oh,
that,
and I got nothing going on.
All right, any other business? Barney, any other business?
Have we heard any issues on the budget that was laid down for the public to review?
Have gotten no feedback. I think we got many clicks on it, but no feedback. And I know we've posted our press release for our public hearing on February 23rd. So we are all set and everything's looking good.
Okay.
Vice President Kaplan, do you have any other business?
No, sir.
Yes,
Barney,
I move to adjourn.
Wait, before you, Director Williams, any other business?
No other business. We're in, as we've indicated, we're in phase 4 now. So we're excited to some of our sports teams get to compete a little bit more. So that's exciting and all is moving in the right direction.
Okay. Thank you very much. Great meeting. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
There's a
Second.
motion by President Rutberg, seconded by Vice President Kaplan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it. The meeting is adjourned at 4:57 p.m. Very efficient. Well done meeting, everyone. Thank you very much.